And we continue this discussion with Captain Mike Fortune. He's an aviation expert and consultant, and he joins us from Carmel, California. Sir, thanks for joining us here.
Thank you for having me, Julian.
Now, I know that, of course, you don't want to speculate on the cause of this missing aircraft. I certainly respect it, and I think that is a good thing. But I want to talk about the weather conditions. Unlike MH370 that disappeared in March, we have at least a connection here, at least to a pilot saying that he wanted to rise from 32,000 feet to 38,000 feet because of the weather. The question, sir, is how much does weather affect these aircraft?
Well, Julian, weather can have a tremendous effect on aircraft, particularly airliners. This aircraft in particular was an Airbus A320, which has a service ceiling of 39,000 feet. Now, the area they were operating in was called the Intertropical Convergence Zone, and it's right near the equator. And in that area, you get a lot of convective thunderstorm activity, which is in the morning. It's a very warm, moist area, and as the heat builds, really large thunderstorms can grow in the area and become a real hazard to aviation.
Now, I'm sure you may not know this answer, but perhaps you do. There are a lot of aircraft, they say, for instance, in the United States, over the continental United States, there may be 260,000 aircraft in the sky at the same time. Can you give us an idea about how many aircraft might have been in that area at the time that this airplane was there?
You know, I really don't have any information on that. If it's a regular jet route, there were probably other aircraft in the area. I think what is important here is the individual, apparently the captain, wanted to climb above weather from the reports I'm getting. And as a pilot, as an airline pilot, we're trained from the beginning to avoid thunderstorms. However, flying over a thunderstorm is, one, very difficult because they can grow so rapidly. And in that area, they can be 40 to 60,000 feet. Now, an A320 is not going to get above those things. So we're taught to deviate around these thunderstorms. And a really safe distance is, according to the Federal Aviation Administration here in the United States, is about 20 miles. So it appears the weather may have been a factor, and if he did try to climb above this weather, he could have gotten into some very difficult, strong, perhaps severe turbulence at an altitude where his aircraft wasn't quite performing as well, and he could have stalled the aircraft right down into the thunderstorm he was trying to avoid.
Indeed.
You know, that's a potential problem.
Right, indeed. Of course, it's been now 48 hours and no word of anything right now, no contact at all, and obviously not speculating. One thing that we know that this airplane was over the Java Sea. From what we understand, according to some experts, that if it in fact did go into the water there, it's far more shallow than where Malaysia flight MH70 went down. And perhaps if it did go down there, it might be easier to locate. I guess the question is, with this Airbus A320, it was the same plane that landed by Captain Sully Sullenberger in the Hudson River. I guess, what do you think the potential might be for that plane to still possibly be afloat based upon its structure?
It's been quite a long time since the aircraft went in the water. I think it is highly unlikely that it is afloat. If they were able to get it on the water in one piece and potentially evacuate the aircraft and get in some life rafts, there may be survivors. That remains to be seen right now.
Captain,
that would be a difficult thing to do, particularly with the weather that was there, which would create high winds and big waves.
Right, of course, it's monsoon season right now, unfortunately, in terms of trying to get any recovery or rescue at this time. But the last question I want to ask you is a situation of technology. We know for a fact, and you know for a fact, that there is technology now that these planes could have where you could track them at a moment's notice all the time, but yet and still, the airlines have refused or whatever to put this kind of technology on the plane. I've got to ask, why is that the case?
It is my opinion that the airlines, we really haven't run into the situation of lost aircraft until MH370. These systems are relatively new and quite expensive to retrofit a fleet. So money's involved for sure. However, the systems are available. They are out there, and aircraft can be retrofitted for them. It is an interesting question that we can find our cell phone just about anywhere, yet we can't find an aircraft that's en route over water somewhere. I mean, it's an interesting question.
Right.
The aircraft have old technology on board, and they haven't kept up. You know, it's very expensive to keep up with modern technology in aircraft.
All right. Well, you know, we can only hope and pray that some people, or hopefully everybody's found alive. But Michael, fortunately, I certainly want to thank you for all your insights, sir.
Thanks for having me.